welcome to Still Buffering, a sister's guide to teens through the ages. I am Riley Smurl.
I'm Sydney McElroy.
And I'm Taylor Smurl.
Well, sisters, this is a very exciting week.
Do tell.
Well, thank you for that level of excitement. It's already, you can tell how excited we are. Riley, are you awake?
Yeah.
Okay. Drink more caffeine. It's Max Fun Drive.
Woo.
Yay. Taylor?
Yay.
Good.
We're all excited.
We're all very excited to be a part of Max Fun Drive. This is...
Yeah. Yes, we are. We're very excited. We're going to tell you all about the Max Fun Drive, but not quite yet, because that doesn't come till the middle of the show.
Keep you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, but we're very excited about that. It's a big week. It was a big weekend for
what were you going to go over there?
Disney.
What was it?
Hey, did Beauty and the Beast open this past weekend, or was that a week ago?
That was this past weekend.
Okay. Beauty and the Beast open.
Oh.
Didn't see it.
Yeah.
I saw the one that wasn't with people, but with jawed people.
Drawed people. I've seen the one with drawed people. I haven't seen the one with real people.
See, I'm a professional drawer. I know about these things.
The advantage for me of the one with drawed people over the one with people is that my daughter will not be terrified by the one with drawed people.
Yeah.
Whereas I cannot see her, like, the first time that, like, it's like a real beast, like a real actual beast.
She's afraid of the drawed beast.
She is afraid of the drawed beast. I can't see her being okay with that.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing Beauty and the Beast this summer for outdoor theater, and we had a promo at our theater, our movie theater, when the movie came out, and our Beast was in his Beast costume. And I tried to introduce Charlie to Belle and the Beast, because I know Charlie's all about Belle and all about princesses. But the minute she saw that Beast in that costume, she was very scared, and I could not convince her to talk to Belle.
Now, to be fair, they don't have the actual Beast costume yet. Yeah. So the Beast head is a giant, like, Halloween mask. It's like the cartoon
terrible.
Beast face.
That's always smiling and, like, doesn't have eye holes or a mouth hole.
And it's that big smile that the Beast gets where, like, his teeth are, like, jutting out, and he has that big goofy, like, hey, it's me, the Beast.
It looks like something one might ironically wear in, like, a Joker heist.
Exactly.
Situation.
It's really only scary if you're also dressed in, like, I don't know, bloody coveralls and you're holding a machete. Like,
our
it's
Beast
actually
was
pretty
not
goofy.
wearing that.
Our Beast was not. That would have been a whole new movie promo.
The goal is to get people
give it an edge. Beauty and the Beast with an edge.
From the movie theater and get them to the real theater.
I think it's been interesting.
The dark, gritty reboot of Beauty and the Beast.
They'll do that eventually.
With Cartoon Wolverine as the Beast.
Uh-huh. There's the next
Belle wears
step
a
for
leather
Logan.
jacket or something.
I haven't seen it yet either. I've been excited because I like Emma Watson.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard for me because Beauty and the Beast, and Belle specifically, was one of my favorite Disney princesses. It used to be my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've gotten older, while I still like the music and stuff, and I think it was a fine animated feature,
A fine drawed picture.
a fine drawed film. I like, as I've aged, I have begun to less appreciate Belle as my favorite princess, because I think in the beginning it was like, oh, it's a princess who likes to read. That's so novel that they would let a woman read in a princess movie. I became immediately attached to her, like, oh, but this one reads, though.
I read.
So this one's more like me.
Doesn't that bum you out that there was a boardroom, like, what was that, probably like 20, 30 years ago, where some guy was like, no, but here's the thing. She loves books. And everyone was like, whoa.
Oh, man.
And
They're going to push that envelope.
I know there are a couple people who are like, ooh.
That's a little risque.
Can she also like shoes? No, just books. I don't know.
But she still looks really good in a big dress, right? Well, yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, and
course.
she's also like built just like a Disney princess, and also she's the most beautiful girl in all of the town, and everyone knows it. So don't worry. And they have to make a point to say she's the most beautiful girl in the whole town because she also reads, so they have to compensate for the fact that she's also smart.
Well, that's it. And then the song, it's almost like it's kind of ridiculous. It's like, oh, it's such a shame. She's so beautiful, but she reads books.
She reads. Which, like, what does Belle do all day? Because she's technically 17. Like, it doesn't seem like that. She obviously seems much older, but Disney canon is she is 17 years old in that movie. What does she do all day other than like go to the library and get a book? But obviously she's reading the same books over and over again because they don't have any new books because she's read them all.
I mean, she talks to geese and stuff. I understand why people in the neighborhood were troubled by her, but I don't think it was the
She teaches the sheep to read.
Oh, they're sheep. That's it.
I kept waiting. Like, I assumed somehow in my memory of the movie, she helped her dad. And, like, that was what I thought I remembered was like, well, doesn't she help with inventions and stuff? Like, she's a young engineer. Isn't that, like, what we're supposed to glean? But I think that time, like, put, like, my mind, I confabulated that. That's not, I don't think that that's actually what happens.
In the musical script, he's like, hey, come turn this on for me so I can see if it works. So she, like, pulls a lever. And it works. And she's like, wow, it works. Great job, Dad.
Still more mechanical than the previous Disney princesses, I think you could make the case.
But I don't think you'd say she's as mechanical as, like, Betty Cooper.
No.
Yeah,
but
we
maybe
can't,
beating out Ariel brushing her hair with a fork.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, Ariel's always my favorite, but she has some deep, deep flaws when it comes to the understanding of basic things in life.
Just basic things. Now she's part fish, to be fair.
Like,
so
somebody pointed it out. I will not take credit for it. It was like a BuzzFeed article or something that, like, what did she think her dad had as his trident? Just a giant hairbrush?
That's so true.
Well, he did have all that hair, all that long, white, flowing, like, hair and beard, and it all became one thing.
Is our dad
just traveled with his necessarily styling gear? Okay.
So obviously, we're talking about princesses. And exactly, and not just we'll talk not just about Disney princesses, although a lot of them
but
are
a lot
that.
about them.
A lot of them are that. But I think the princesses are like a nice little cultural touchstone to look at, to see kind of the way more so women historically, I mean, mainly women, but the way they're kind of like represented, what they're supposed to, what young women are supposed to connect to. I think that, like, when you see how princesses have changed over time, you see, like, this is what young girls of this era would have looked up to and admired and wanted to be like, and therefore wanted to watch and buy products related to, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's interesting because it reflects a shift from, like, certainly the era before Taylor and I, and then when we were younger, and then moving on to your generation, which is a whole new ballgame now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where princesses exploded to mean all kinds of things, I think.
Yeah. I definitely think it's kind of intimidating when you reach the age of some of these princesses, because when you're like, 5 or 6 and you're looking at all these princesses like, wow, they're so old, they're so pretty, I don't look just like them. Then you realize they're all supposed to be like, the oldest one I think is probably 21, and all of them are mostly between the ages of like 15 and 18. And you're like, wow.
Which is rough since so many of the early ones, like, the goal was like marry them off.
Yeah, pretty much all of them get married at some point in a movie, and all of them are pretty much under the age of 18. The Ariel's, what, 16?
Is she 16?
I think so.
Okay.
These were not things that
now these are not
then.
points in the movie. Like, they make a point of saying she is 16 years old, or like I don't think it's very obvious that she's 16, but canon she is 16, which means that these people writing these stories are like, yeah, she's a 16-year-old girl, and also she's getting married to a prince, so, like, it's fine. He's probably like late 20s, she's 16, it's fine.
It's fine. Well, it was all set in the that time period in that place, so
where
it was okay.
It was fine for 16-year-old mermaids to marry like 30-year-old men.
I mean, you also, some of these fall, that one, some of these you have to look at the time period they're actually being made. Like, I'm kind of amazed to see Snow White was put out in 1937.
That's crazy.
Like
That's 80
Cinderella
years
was
ago.
1950. So we're dealing with time periods where, to have a girl, I think a young female protagonist with any agency at all, I hate to say would have been somewhat revolutionary, but I don't think that's too far off the path.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. And that's why I think it's easy for us to look back at the original, the classic, so to speak, like Disney princesses, and pretty like uniformly say, okay, well, these stories are problematic.
Yeah.
I mean, Snow White,
Sleeping Beauty,
yeah,
Cinderella.
I mean, Snow White especially, like, I was reading it to Charlie. Charlie has like this giant book of teeny little abbreviated Disney stories, and they're just like a very shortened, condensed version of all the movies, which is very like also jarring to read as someone who's seen them and like knows the stories. It's like, well, that just, and then, okay, they live happily ever after. How did that just happen? So it's a very strange book. But the Snow White story, I was reading it to her, and it's been forever since I've seen this movie. But it says specifically the prince had heard tell of like a young woman asleep in a glass coffin.
I gotta get on that.
He's
She
like,
is
I
hot
gotta
and
move
she
that.
comes with a glass coffin.
Gotta get
glass
my
coffin
lips
with
on that half
purchase.
dead girl.
I can't imagine the scenario where you're like, hey, Prince, hey, Prince bro, guess what I heard about?
A 14-year-old girl asleep in a glass coffin in the middle of the woods, surrounded
Yeah.
by 7 dudes.
Yeah,
This sounds like a story that Dad would tell us about from the news. Like, you won't believe the horrible thing that happened that I'm going to upset you and now tell you about. Like, this is how it would start.
Oh man.
Instead, it's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And then that's easy for us to look back at and say, like, well, there's some issues here. First of all, like, she just falls asleep and then a guy kisses her without permission. He doesn't ask consent. He just kisses her. She's in a coffin. I don't know what we're supposed to make of that.
happens more than once in Disney stories. Like the likelihood of a prince kissing you when you're asleep, if you're a hot lady, is very high in the
It's very
Disney
high.
universe. Like, and, there's also this weird thing that happens because it's like, the huntsman doesn't kill Snow White because she's so beautiful. And then, like, these dudes just can't help kissing these ladies because they're so beautiful. Which is like, what would have happened if these girls would have been, like, I don't know, 7s? Like, their
I'll
beauty
kill her.
solves
She's
their problems
average.
for them more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, back then you could just like go ahead and if they were really hot, you could just kiss them. Nowadays, you got to take them furniture shopping first. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Anyway, so that's a problem. And then, so it's easy for me to look back and go, well, I never would have connected to a princess like that. Like, why am I like, man, my hope someday is that I'm hot enough that if I fall asleep,
In a glass coffin in the middle of the woods.
a man will kiss me against my will and then marry me. No. And and I certainly don't want to cook and clean for 7 minors.
But I mean, look,
Yeah.
you kind of have to put it on Redux. Like, what were the skills of your original, your sort of archetype Disney princesses? They were beautiful. They were
Pleasant.
good cleaners. They, there was a lot of cleaning involved in their life for sure, and they slept or had no agency, and they're like they had no power. They were completely passive. Like that was
They were
those
rarely cross.
Yeah, there were
I mean-
qualities that maybe there's a undercurrent of things that young girls should have at that time.
I think that's true. I think you're right. I think that what we're putting a premium on is being like polite and quiet and dutiful and lovely to look at. And those would have been important, maybe the only thing that you would have expected of women at that time in history. And I think if you look at like, so Sleeping Beauty came next, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't-
1959.
Aurora. Yeah.
And actually, interesting, all 3 of these movies have something else in common. You know what that is?
What?
A woman of power is the evil force in all 3
It's true.
situations. Evil stepmother. We've got Maleficent. We've got what's the
Evil Queen.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like
The
all
Evil
all-
Queen and Snow White.
you have a representation of women with agency as evil beings.
And you have like in Snow White, like her whole problem is that somebody's prettier than her.
Right.
Yeah.
Like she's willing to murder because somebody is prettier than her because a mirror told her that.
I think it's interesting that in some of these descriptions of the Disney princesses, Disney has come out like in response to people saying they're like anti-feminist women, basically. And Disney said about most of them the same thing, which is they are kind, sweet, and respectful, encouraging children to be a friend to all.
Which, I mean, that's great. Like, don't get me wrong. I think it's great that obviously all three of these princesses also had like a great affinity for forest creatures.
They all like had fun songs with animals.
Yeah.
That is true.
I think we can assume that they all were very good to animals.
Don't
Maybe-
all Disney princesses have an animal sidekick? Yes, all of them do. I'm very confident in this fact.
Elsa?
No, I guess Elsa and Anna don't.
Unless
No,
you
they
count
have a
that giant thing she
snowman.
makes out of snow.
They have Olaf. And
Olaf kind of
Sven.
counts. Sure.
I mean, okay.
There's a reindeer.
Does Aurora have like a bird or something?
Well, I mean, all three of them could like sing to birds and animals, and they'd come to
Yeah.
them, right?
I guess that's true. Make clothes for them.
I don't know. The important thing about Aurora is that she definitely fell asleep and definitely got smooched.
Yeah.
So
All right,
she
well-
fulfilled her job. And Cinderella,
I guess Belle's animal
she didn't have to be
sidekick is
asleep.
her husband. Right? Like,
yeah, I think so. And then of course Cinderella, she didn't have to fall asleep because she had the much more important attribute of small feet.
right.
She was pleasant.
Also
Birds
important.
Birds liked her. She could make dresses.
Mm-hmm.
She was excellent at cooking and cleaning.
Yeah.
We have to assume she had lots of practice.
Right. Right. She has a fairy stepmother
Yes.
do everything for her.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you get with her, you get that too.
Do you get the fairy stepmother
I think you do.
Wait.
Right?
or the fairy godmother?
Fairy godmother.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do
She
you,
like
do you get
turned a
fairy
pumpkin
godmother?
into a carriage and some mice into horses for her.
But like, isn't she done? Like her wish came true. She got to marry a prince, so that's done. Like her life. Like once you marry a prince, that's
You're
all you
good.
need, right? You're never sad again. That's all.
She could like call her stepmother back or godmother back. Like, I got some postpartum depression going on. Like, you want to help me out with that? You want to make this gourd into a Ferrari or something?
Stepmothers or grandmother,
Make
godmother's
this-
like, aw.
Can I
Like
tell
this
you
Aaron-
too? I don't know what happened to these princesses after the story. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of things you could reference for that, but one of the things, Charlie has these books that you can watch on TV. Like you flip the pages by clicking your little Apple TV remote and read through a book, and they have songs in them. And one of them is a Princess Tea Party. And oh, it's the worst. She found it and she likes it because there's lots of pictures of princesses having tea parties. But there are all these songs about having a perfect tea party and how you have to, like, it's the most important thing a princess can do. And you have to take your time to make sure everything's perfect so that your guests are so happy and your prince will be pleased. And your tea must be perfect. And you must cross your feet like this. And you'll never say this. And you dab your napkin like this. And it's just the worst. And that's what I imagine, like, all these early princesses, like, they get married off, they go live in the castle, and then they're just, like, sitting there, like, another tea party. Great. It's another day, another tea party. I'm so happy. Thanks. Like, even the birds leave eventually. They're like, oh, I don't know what's up with Aurora, but I gotta bounce. She's getting weird.
Have you all ever seen the After Ever After, I think is what they're called, videos on YouTube?
I was actually, it's funny you say that. Is it the one with the one guy that sings about them, or the group of
Yeah.
girls that are dressed up as the princesses? Because there are a couple there.
Well, both. I know the one you're talking about, the song that the Elsa sings. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
with all the princesses kind of being lost in their boring princessly lives after they've been married off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
But-
song is like Elsa telling all the princesses
You don't
what's
need a
wrong with
man.
them and
Yeah.
why they don't need a man. And then there's one where it's a guy who's written, I think there's two of them, so there's four in each. What happens to the princesses after the movie ends? They're really funny, really good
Yeah,
too.
no, they're dark, but they're good.
Yeah,
Or we could just reference Into the Woods for some of these stories. I
That's
guess.
well,
true.
that's true.
Just that.
Cinderella,
Really
the
just
only
that.
one. Rapunzel's in there, but
Yeah.
all Rapunzel does is cry.
Well. And I think we've kind of like that generation of princesses. I remember like growing up with those stories and thinking like their dresses were pretty and not much else, because I couldn't connect to those. Those weren't dreams I had for myself. I didn't connect to those women because they're I think you could hardly argue that they're fully fleshed out, realized people in their roles. And so I think what came about in our generation was what they usually call like the Disney Renaissance of princesses.
Right.
So
Started off with Little Mermaid in 1989. So I was alive for this one.
that was the one that defined Taylor, I think.
Yes. Well, but you really, I think, I think when we say the Disney Renaissance of princesses, where we've got Ariel in 1989, we've got Belle in 1991, we've got Jasmine in 1992, we've got Pocahontas in 95, like Mulan in 98.
What do you think happened in there where they took a 30-year break from 59 to 89, where they decided to switch it up from Aurora to Ariel, where they put out Disney movies but no princess movies?
There was a lot of financial issues that had to do with that, and Justin has told me this once. He read a book about it, and he told me a very long story about it, and he knows the answer. So ask Justin sometime. But it had to do with like financial stuff and the will to do it again, and you know.
Well, but I think you can take those 90s princesses, and I'm including Ariel, even though it's December of 89, and like they all kind of have a similar theme behind them. I mean, we're talking Ariel, Belle, Jasmine, Pocahontas, and Mulan. And I can't help but like compare this was also the era of the Spice Girls, where I think we kind of put a new shiny coating on feminism, where it's like you can have dreams and goals and aspirations and look pretty in a dress. Like, we were ready to go all the way, but we were ready to kind of get there, especially with the early ones, like Ariel, Belle, and Jasmine to a certain extent.
That's true. It was a very it was a very benign feminism. Like It was not a feminism designed to scare anyone. It wasn't to get, we're not trying to like get in your face about it. We're just like, we're a little cooler than we used to be. And sometimes we like to go on treasure hunts.
Well, and that's like, I love Ariel, but it's kind of, you look you look back at your favorite when you're older and more capable of judging it, like that's problematic. Like, she wanted to go on adventures, and so she married a prince and had a baby in a kingdom that is like 10 feet from where she grew up. Oh, okay. Good
And
job.
Is her baby half mermaid as well?
Your baby's like a half
baby-
mermaid. There's like a
baby
half mermaid story there.
Right.
Her baby wants to go back to the sea.
Yeah.
Her daughter goes back to the sea because she likes the sea life.
Sea baby.
Yeah.
Just like Moana.
But like, I mean, and knowing like the story that The Little Mermaid is based on, the original fairy tale,
Yeah.
is more upsetting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess is the original similar to the musical Once on This Island, I think, which is where like a girl falls in love with someone who she can't be with, a prince, and then she dies and turns into sea foam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The princess kills herself.
Yeah.
Little
If
Mermaid
you-
kills herself.
If you are beautiful enough, you will just turn into foam upon your death. That is what
Which is not like something to strive for.
Yeah.
No.
But it is funny because then because like with like Beauty and the Beast, I really did like we've talked about when Belle was first introduced. It was like, oh, she's clever and she's different and she's weird and she doesn't fit in. That's me all over. And she reads. Oh, I read all the time. And she reads books over again. That's totally me. Like it felt like, oh, finally a princess for me. But then like my problem with it is that as I look back, I think one of my favorite parts in Beauty and the Beast is when she does the little when she does the reprise, or she does the
Through the dandelions, and she's like
out on the
lying down
field,
and, like,
the
looking
"I want
wistfully out of her
adventure
cliff."
in the great-" that whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's like I want adventure, but I'll settle for marrying a former jerk prince who became a jerk beast, who then became a nice beast, who then killed a dude, and then I'm cool with. I mean, it was an accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also, doing Beauty and the Beast, have had a lot of time to look at the chronology of the story. And I have some questions because the rose is supposed to lose its final petal on his 21st birthday. Like, that is when the curse is final. Mm-hmm. And so obviously we're coming up on his 21st birthday in the plot of Beauty and the Beast, because the thing is that the rose is about to lose its last petal and they're all going to be like this forever. But also in Be Our Guest, Lumiere says 10 years we've been resting, which means they've been under the spell for 10 years, which means he got the spell put on him when he was like 11 years old. Right?
So he was like a major jerk when he was 11.
Or you open up your door as an 11-year-old and there's a creepy old woman standing there like, hey, can I come in? And you're like, no.
I mean, but this is also the time period when like princes became kings at like 12, 13 years old. So I think there was just different, different ages for different qualifications at that point.
I think that's true. And but this is also a question I had the last time we watched it, because I watched it more recently with Charlie. This is the king, like this is the castle. So this is like the local
and
monarch.
This is their prince.
And this is their prince. And nobody's like, yo, whatever happened to
that
prince? The prince and like the king and like that whole royal thing that was happening.
Like
that
our
rules
leadership.
Us. Like, I mean, it would be like if all of a sudden, I can't even use the corollary with our current president. But you know what I mean? Like, it's like the person in leadership, like, all of a sudden vanishes from human sight and locks the doors to the
White House.
And you never hear anything. You're not like, well, yeah, I
mean,
know.
Must be more in this provincial life. Gotta keep baking that bread.
But you look at the way this business is structured. Like, they make their bread, other people buy it, other people make ale, then they buy it. Like, I don't think that the king has very much to do with it. I think that, like, if your mayor turned into a beast and locked the doors to the capital, not even the capital, the capital.
He took over the capital.
However smart government works. Would you know? Would you really notice for a while? I feel like everything would just kind of keep going. He'd be like, we haven't heard from him. He hasn't increased taxes in a while, huh? He hasn't been around to collect them. That's cool. Great. No problem. No problem for me.
Did Gaston become king? Did he just assume the role?
No. What?
Even from a young age. Did he just assume the role?
Well, he did lead a vigilante mob there, so...
I mean, I don't think he was king. I just think he was a very muscly guy, so people followed him.
Gaston was interim prince.
He was quite loud.
I want to keep talking about princesses and muscly men, but we got to talk about first.
We got to talk about the Max Fun Drive.
Whoop, whoop.
So this is our Max Fun Drive 2017. Now, what is that? You may be wondering.
Well, I am wondering. Tell me, Sydney.
I hope you're not wondering, because we've done this before. Max Fun is a network of podcasts that is supported by you, the listener.
Yeah.
And as a result, once a year, we try to put together some of our best exciting shows, and during them ask you to help us out. If you like our show, if you like the other shows on our network, we ask that you consider maybe donating to our network so that we can keep making this great content.
Yeah.
If you're already a member, maybe you already became a regular donating member of Max Fun, maybe this would be a great moment to upgrade your membership as well.
Yeah.
Why should we donate?
That's a great question, Sydney. You should donate because you're supporting our show and all the shows you like. So when you donate, you get to tell Max Fun all the shows you love, and then you're supporting all the shows you love. When you donate, you feel awesome every time you listen to all of the shows you love. You'll help us reach our goal of 10,000 new and upgrading members, which I think we've already hit 5,000.
Yeah.
It's like we're halfway there.
But that doesn't mean you should give up.
No, that does not mean you should give up. because I think Travis is like gonna get a tattoo on his butt, right?
I've been told that was a joke, and we're not to encourage that myth anymore.
Wait,
I'll still put that out there.
Stupid tattoos for good reasons? I'm in. I got most of my stupid tattoos for dumb reasons.
I'll get my first tattoo. I'll do it.
We will get a pigeon wearing a scrunchie.
I'll get a pigeon wearing a scrunchie.
I'm throwing in right now. I will get a pigeon wearing a scrunchie tattoo. I don't even care. I'll just get one anyway. I'm already going to get one. Never mind.
I'll get one that matches you.
We get to 10,000 people, I will get that tattoo, and I will buy you one for you, Riley, for your 18th birthday.
If we get 15,000, I will get one that matches Taylor.
Okay, well, 10,000, I'm getting one, and I might get one anyway, but you should still donate.
If we get 15,000, I'll consider it.
I'll get it.
It just has to be small and discreet.
Yeah, small and discreet pigeon scrunchie.
We also have great pledge gifts.
Yeah, you get a gift every time you donate.
So this is a great opportunity to if you're not a member to join Max Fun. If you're already a member, maybe to upgrade your membership if you can, because then you get pledge gifts. So for $5 a month, you get exclusive bonus content. We've already recorded our exclusive bonus episode.
And you get access to all of the bonus content, not just the shows you listen to.
Exactly. All the old ones too.
Yeah.
You get access to all of that. At $10 a month, this is something to get really excited about. You get a Drive exclusive enamel pen designed by Megan Lynn Cott.
And she did our bandanas last year, which were great. And this year our pens are great.
Absolutely. So go check out, look at all the pens. They're gorgeous. There's all kinds of exciting ones. And you only get that if you donate $10 a month.
I've also been made aware that if you donate $10 a month or above, at the end of the pledge drive, you will have the opportunity to purchase more pins, more than just the one you picked initially, and the proceeds will be donated to charity.
So if you donate $20 a month, you get the Keep in Touch kit, which is 9 custom note cards plus envelopes, a 4-color rocket pin, a Getting Their Rocket stamp, and a rocket-shaped candle. And then if you donate $35 a month, you get a pair of rocket engraved Max Fun beer mugs.
Kind of want those.
There's also a $100 per month Inner Circle, which is a monthly culture club, and a $200 per month free registration for Max Fun Con 2018. So there are all kinds of different levels that you can donate if you can, whatever level suits you and your life best.
And whatever level you donate at, you get the gifts from the level below. So if you donate $35 a month, you get the beer mugs and the Keep in Touch kit and a pin and all the bonus content and so on and so forth.
So what we're asking is for you to support Still Buffering, as well as all the other shows on the Maximum Fun Network, by becoming a Maximum Fun monthly member. Again, you can donate as little as $5 a month to become a monthly member. Thank you if you already are a monthly member. We super appreciate it. It helps us to continue to make our shows and make our shows better. So thank you. And again, if you're in a position to upgrade, this is probably the best time to do it.
Because you'll get all the gifts.
Exactly. So if you want to donate, sisters, either of you want to tell us where to go?
Taylor, tell them where to go.
If you want to donate, go to MaximumFun.org and click on Donate. It's MaximumFun.org. You can select the membership level that is right for you, and you can just provide your credit card and some other basic info, including which Max Fun shows you listen to, and voila, you're a member. Your donation will be processed automatically each month. You don't have to do anything else unless the card expires or you decide to cancel.
So you should really go donate now. And again, click the shows you listen to. If you're listening right now, you listen to ours. So please
select ours.
Please select ours too.
There you go.
And help us keep making all this great content. Help us reach our goal of 10,000 new and upgrading donors. Do it now while it's on your mind.
It's easy.
Make Riley get a tattoo.
I was going to say, if we hit
So
15,000, I'll
easy.
get that pigeon scrunchy tattoo.
I was going to say make Taylor
Won't
get a
even think twice
tattoo,
about it.
but I think she's going to.
I mean, no, 10,000 and I will. 100% will.
Okay. All right. I believe you.
I will.
Now, that era of princesses that when Taylor and I were growing up that we've kind of been talking about. Taylor, you were reading something and you talked about some of the traits of that era. You said they were like feisty and adventurous.
Yeah, I mean,
Those kinds
they
of
have,
things.
I don't want to say a false sense of agency, but you kind of are introduced to all these characters as characters with individual goals. Like, Ariel and Belle wanted to go on adventures. Even Jasmine, she escaped from the castle on her own to experience life outside of those walls. You had, now the one I will leave out of this, because, I mean, the two actually, Pocahontas and Mulan, I don't think you can say that their agency was removed by the end of their movie. I don't think that they got a prince and were happy with it. They're the two that actually did not end up with it. They ended up princeless. But so I think we can separate like those latter two of the 90s and those initial three. As people that came in, they were so enticing because they were young women with goals and drives and dreams, and yet by the end of their films they had settled for, well, I'm married, yay.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point because Pocahontas, which came out later in like 95, really spoke to me at the time. In part because I was very much in my I had just my beginnings of being a hippie, of being a tree hugging hippie, was back then. And I thought like, oh, that being in touch with the earth thing really spoke to me. And then at the same time, I just thought Pocahontas, like, she thinks for herself and she doesn't listen to what other people tell her, and she makes up her own mind, and she was smart and brave and very strong, and she did cool things like cliff dive.
Yeah.
which would scare the crap out of me. I've done it once. It scared the crap out of me. I have no desire to do it again. And I admired all that, and I thought she was strong. And by the way, the music is amazing. So there's always that. And then Mulan, who very much lived in a man's world,
Literally.
like literally.
She became a man.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Well, and
which. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say it wasn't in response to anything to do with the man. Like she, I mean, the original myth it's based off of, it's purely that she took on a man's guise to protect her family and to fight for her homeland. Like it's a really noble cause that is so much more than just I want to go on an adventure. It's like, no, I got to protect, the things I care about. Like it's a very heroic. I think we talk about princesses and we talk about heroes as if they're separate things, but I think increasingly in the 90s you see princesses that are more the hero of their stories, which is awesome. And Mulan's kind of the pinnacle of that.
Yeah.
I think that's true. It's still, there's still like something that I think holds her back, which is that the message is very much you have to be a man
In
like,
order to succeed.
Yeah, like the whole thing she does to be accepted, to be strong and powerful and brave and capable, she has to pretend to be a man, or else they will not accept that, because those traits could certainly not exist in a woman. A woman is the idea, and that is very literally represented by, well, she pretends to be a man, which at the end, like, they decide not to kill her. Like, that's the reward she gets. Like, fine, we really should murder you now, but we won't.
Yeah.
I'm not the variant, but you know what I mean? Like, when they discover her, that's what they first say. Like, because you saved the entire army, we won't murder you. We'll leave you to freeze.
Well, and it's also even worse because it's almost like Disney couldn't leave well enough
Before the
alone
end.
with both of Pocahontas and Mulan, because then they made sequels where they just wanted to be like, but just so you know, they do end up with a dude. Just so you know,
Yeah.
that does happen. Like,
Yeah. Don't worry. Pocahontas goes to England. She wears lots of pretty dresses, and she marries a different John.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's fine. There's another John. It's all cool.
Which I will say, I have only seen, sadly, I have only seen a handful of the original Disney princess movies. Like, I've seen the original Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid only since Charlie has been born, because she likes them. But other than that, I've seen Mulan and Rapunzel.
Which-
But
And it's hard. Just one last note on Pocahontas. I do realize that it's based very loosely.
that's what I was going to say, is
on
finding out the
history.
real story and history class behind
Yeah.
Pocahontas
very loosely on history,
is life-changing.
and it's not clear how much of it like John Smith made up. And
Right.
yeah, now that takes us to
The modern era.
the modern era.
Modern.
Which I think just it technically started in 2009 is when The Princess and the Frog came out.
Tiana,
And that
yeah.
is when Tiana. And I've never seen that movie, but I know the basis, which is that her whole goal is having her own restaurant, right?
Well, and
So, like, she's
I think she's the first Disney princess that maybe she ends up with a man, but her goal is the same the whole time. And I think that, it's like she's the first one that you get the full validation of, like, a young woman that achieves her dreams and doesn't decide on different dreams because a man comes along.
yeah. She kind of sees like her whole issue with turning into a frog. Like she has to work with this other guy who is also a frog in order to not be a frog anymore, and they just happen to fall in love. But when she's not a frog anymore, she still continues to pursue her original dream.
Right. You learn the critical life lesson of sometimes you turn into a frog and have to work with other people
Yes.
who turn into
Right.
frogs. Right.
Okay, that's not perfect.
And the next princess in the modern era is my favorite, Rapunzel, who just came out
What?
a year after, in
Now,
2010.
why? I have to know why.
Okay, so here's my view on Rapunzel. And a lot of people disagree with me, but this is what I think. So she's trapped in this tower, but she isn't aware that there's anything else out there other than these lights that she sees, and she does what she can to pursue what she wants. but she also, while she's in this tower, doesn't just like accept her fate of being stuck forever and like cry about it and like wish she was somewhere else, and rely on a man to get her out. Like while she's stuck in this tower, she becomes such a well-rounded person. Like she's able to do literally so many things. There's a whole song about it at the beginning of the movie. Like all these new skills she has. She's so artistic and creative.
You lock a girl in a tower for until she's like, I don't know, 18 years old, and she will become a well-rounded human. Is that the takeaway?
Well, I mean, she doesn't just like, I don't know. I like that she doesn't just like whine about it. You know what I mean?
Maybe the message is if you keep her away from men. I don't know.
But then she like takes this opportunity, and I don't think she leaves the castle or her tower just because it's a man that has come to help her. I think she sees anyone coming in as an opportunity to leave, and it was her decision to leave. And she kind of does what Anna does in Frozen almost, which is like, take me here and you don't have to worry about me ever again. Not like, I'm in love with you, please take me with you. Mm-hmm. Like, this is where I want to go and I just need you to help me get there. And she, finds out she's a princess. And
what about the lack of shoes? What does that signify?
I mean... that's a bit of an issue, but I do like
worrying
that
about her feet because she's been living in a tower, so I don't know that she's been able to develop like particularly rough calluses on the bottom of her feet like you would expect if she'd been walking around out in the forest for like all.
And then
of
she
her,
starts walking around in the forest,
and then she just starts wandering around the forest, and I keep thinking like, ouch,
Chiggers.
pine cone.
I'm just thinking chiggers, little things that burrow up in your feet.
I think my favorite quality of Rapunzel's, though, is if you look at her weapon of choice, which is a frying pan, which you think is silly, and then you look into it, and a frying pan... Nope, hear me out. A frying pan, which would symbolize, like, this symbol of, like, female oppression almost, like, being put in the kitchen, and this is what you can do, is cook with a frying pan. And then she uses it to knock a guy out, like, 3 times, and carries that with her as her way of defense. Mm-hmm. Like, she's using, like, this symbol of anti-feminism and using it to beat up guys.
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah?
All right.
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I follow you. Do you think that these princesses are more, like... Do you think they're following the way women think today? Like, young women today?
I think... more closely. I still think there are probably some problems in all princess movies. I don't know about Frozen and Moana, though. I have to say those 2 most recent ones, I don't see a lot of problematic areas.
It's interesting to me. I think the thing that I keep trying to figure out about Frozen is that when I watched it as an adult, I thought, here is a powerful female. I mean, she's a queen,
right?
We've moved past princess.
Anna is the princess.
Exactly.
She is the queen.
She is the queen. Elsa is a queen. And she is, I mean, yes, she's flawed. She's complex. She's not perfect. She's not rarely cross. she's a very, I mean, a character that is usually reserved for men, played by a woman, somebody who is not all good necessarily, because I mean she does some things that you could say are not objectively good, but my daughter is way more drawn to Anna
than Elsa,
the princess, because she's kind of like what you said about the early princesses. She's happy, she's cheerful, she's friend to all, she's relentlessly positive, she works really hard to help out, she doesn't give up, she doesn't get frustrated.
Yeah. I think the other positive side of Frozen, though, while I do see some problems in that area, is that sort of the flip side of Beauty and the Beast, where you see the Beast and he appears, frightening, and then it turns out he's just, been cursed for so many years, and he turns out to be a prince, and he's nice, and he loves Belle. But then you have Hans in Frozen, who looks like the typical prince who the princess falls in love with and is great. And he turns out to be the villain. So it's kind of the opposite of the Beast, in a sense, where you're judging a book by its cover and you think he's going to be the perfect prince, but really he's the villain of the movie.
Yeah.
Where he's trying to make it out to be this powerful woman is the villain of the movie, because she shouldn't have as much power as he does because she's a woman.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's really the key for me, because I think that as I mentioned before, some of the earliest Disney movies, you have the idea of a powerful woman always going hand in hand with a villain. And you have that up through, like Ariel with Ursula. You have that in Rapunzel with her mother. Like, you have that a woman with agency, with too much agency, with too much power, is inevitably evil. And I think that the importance of a character like Elsa is that you have that evil queen archetype. And I think by presenting her alongside Anna, that it's kind of like, it shows you a range of female capabilities, female powers. I think Anna's power are that she is relentlessly positive. Anybody else would have given up on her mission, given what she was up against. I think the first time you fall into that frozen river and your dress is a sheet of ice, you just lay down and go, never mind. Like, you have to admire that that's a certain kind of power, just the same as what Elsa has. And I think that that's what I love about that movie, is that it really does shake up those sort of archetype characters. You do have the handsome prince who looks good on the outside, who's evil on the inside, very much against the Disney trope that ugly people are evil and beautiful people are good. You have the powerful queen who is also capable of extreme goodness. I think that these are really important subverting things that movie did.
And I think at the end of the movie is the most important, where you can say there are some problems on his character, kind of there being a lack of character almost in the beginning. She has the option of either running towards Kristoff and saving herself and kissing her true love, or saving her sister who's about to get killed by Hans. And she goes and saves her sister, sacrificing herself and dying and sacrificing herself.
Yeah.
But I mean, then, it turns out this was her act of true love, but she didn't know that going in. She thought she's going to die, but she's saving her sister. And she chooses that over love.
Yeah, I like that all the saving is done by the princesses, princess and queen, whatever. All the saving is done by them. The healing is done by them.
And I think the most recent example of that, where that's kind of brought in, where all the saving is done by the females and they're not even being men involved at all, is Moana, where there's no prince, there's no love interest, there's no one trying to save her. She realizes that she has these powers and she's drawn to kind of save her whole community and break the mold that she's supposed to fit into and go out and save everybody for herself, because she feels it's what she's supposed to do. So she does it, and she succeeds without the help of anyone else, really.
Which is so, I mean, there's so many things you could say about Moana, about like I love the idea again of a character that kind of defies her parents and decides, like, I have to do what's right for me and I have to follow my own path, and I can't necessarily do what I'm supposed to do, because again, that character traditionally was a guy, and like that's certainly not a young girl, right. And so I think that's very powerful. I think that I guess this isn't Moana spoiler in case anybody hasn't seen it.
Man, this whole episode has been spoilers for all the princess movies, really.
Yeah, I mean, true.
I don't think anybody's like, you know what I gotta do? I gotta go back and watch Cinderella, because I don't know how that ends. But I think like at the end, when she puts the heart back into feeding, like gives the mother back her heart, because without her heart she was this evil, raging lava monster. And like there was a lot, like as an adult, that I found like powerful about that moment, and as a woman and as a mother and as like I don't know, I felt like there was a lot more to be said there. And then beyond all that, I have seen Moana attract a lot more both young girls and young boys. And that's one of the problems. All these other movies we've talked about, all these other characters we've talked about were really, I mean, it was a very gendered view of this is what a girl is and this is who would like it, period. This is for girls, and we're defining girls this way. This is the only thing that can be girl, and this is a girl, and this is for girls. And I even in Frozen, while I think there are many wonderful things to say about it, you still don't move past that. I think that you could see a character like Moana as being just a powerful, inspirational character.
Yeah.
Period.
And I like that in her character, where you kind of see Mulan as having to take on the qualities of a man in order to succeed. Moana, they didn't make her character out to be where she's trying to act like a man or someone she isn't. She almost takes these qualities of herself that you could say are female, these feminine qualities of being able to see the good in people and trying to follow and find a problem and fix it without just using brute force. Whereas you have Maui trying to just kill Taka and get the heart
Hit
back to
things with a
Tafiti,
hook, yeah.
you have Moana who's looking at Khan saying, this isn't just someone who's evil, this is Tafiti, this is the good, and you have to give her back the good to find the good. So it's almost she realizes she has all these qualities that maybe in previous Disney movies made the females like weak or needing rescuing, and she takes them and does it to solve her own problems.
You know, and I think Disney's smart, and they not too long ago started releasing some of the Studio Ghibli movies made by Hayao Miyazaki. And if you want to kind of look at movies that were being made parallel towards all these Disney movies that have a lot more in common with Moana than any of the previous Disney films, Miyazaki's films have always championed strong, resilient female characters that don't necessarily have to be female. They've had audiences that are broad, that are not focused on women. They're national treasures. And you have movies like Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind, and Howl's Moving Castle, and Mononoke Hime, of course, like movies with consistent, strong female protagonists that I think Disney kind of looked at what was so successful about that and said, hey, maybe we need to reshuffle the formula a bit, because Moana very much felt to me something akin to one of those movies where it's so much more about an individual's journey. That individual happens to be a female, but it has very little to do with her femininity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. And I also think we've talked a lot about like the villains in some of these past movies as being like a powerful woman has to be evil. And I think you have to draw some corollary to the ending of Moana, where the villain, so to speak, the lava monster Te Kā, is again seen as powerful evil woman, but instead of killing her, defeating her, defying her, she rescues her,
Right,
and
I think
turns her back into another powerful woman.
Yeah.
But in
which
good
is also, I think, a really important message that we don't emphasize enough for your generation, Riley. Like a transition from mine, where I think Tay, you and I grew up during like I don't know, I can remember lots of messages being sent to us about like be careful of other women. You know,
absolutely.
Other women are out to get you. And I mean, it was very, and we've talked about this on the show before. We brag about the idea that like, I'm only friends with boys. You know, you can't trust girls like that. That very like, women are deceptive. Women are obviously going to stab each other in the back. You know, women are, you've got to beat out other women. It's not, you're trying to be the best woman, not just be your best, but like you have to beat other women to get somewhere. And more we're trying, you know, we're moving away from that. And it's important to push the narrative that we are all stronger by helping each other. That when we lift our sisters up, we lift ourselves up. And, you know, that woman on woman, girl on girl violence is not helpful.
And we can't talk about princesses. I mean, I know we're focusing on Disney, but my favorite princess, Princess Tsukino Usagi, Sailor Moon. Like, talk about a show that embraces the idea of women working together, women of all different intelligence levels, of different qualities, different strengths and weaknesses. Like, you know, that's. I think there's a reason that young girls of our generation were so drawn to that, and I think it's because they needed something like that. They wanted to see that. They didn't want to see that the only way you could be the good girl is if you're weak and you're meek and you talk to animals or whatever. You could be someone with power and with flaws and still be not only a good guy, but become, you know, like truly like your own hero.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent point.
I think.
Now, can we include Princess Leia?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to
Technically
say.
a Disney princess now.
I think that, you know, with Disney taking over the Star Wars universe, and then we've also got, you know, the Wonder Woman movie on the horizon, we've got a lot of strong female princesses that I think should be heralded as like they should be the toys for our generation of little girls. They should be our next little heroes.
Yeah, I think it was really exciting for me. I saw the Wonder Woman trailer that came out, and because she's a princess, so she counts.
I cried.
And I started to watch it, and then I grabbed Charlie and I said, "Watch this with me," because I thought it starts with the little girl. She likes little girls because she is, you know, she likes looking at other kids. I think that's a kid thing. They just like seeing other kids. So it starts with little Diana, and so she starts to watch it, and she actually watched the entire trailer, and at the end she yelled, "Go Wonder Woman!" And I was like, I'm going to get my kid to watch this movie. And it was very exciting for me because if that is her idea, if if princess can both mean I look great in this ball gown and I have great tea parties, and I also sometimes, like save the universe and end a war and carry around a lasso that makes people tell the truth. Like that's a really cool range of what a princess can be, and then therefore that's a range of what she can be,
Well,
because those messages are very concrete when you're young.
Absolutely. One of my all-time favorite quotes, and it's by Gail Simone, who's one of the, I think seminal female comic book writers of our era. About Wonder Woman, she said, "If you need to stop an asteroid, you call Superman. If you need to solve a mystery, you call Batman. But if you need to end a war, you call Wonder Woman." I just I love that. And I think that I'm so happy to see the character get I hope it. I obviously we don't know what the movie's going to be like, but it is cool even to have a female superhero get her own movie, and she happens to be a princess, so we can talk about her. But that's huge for our lifespan, I think.
I think you're right, and I think that we've talked a lot in this episode about the idea of these characters as defining us and our youths, and how we look at ourselves and at each other, because these movies were very much pushed on young girls. I mean, it was very much, like I said, an idea. It was a very gendered idea. But I think it would be really amazing, because I looked up to plenty of male characters. There are plenty of when I look back through movies and TV and cartoons and books.
I wanted to be the Bob the Builder. I didn't want to be Wendy.
Exactly. There were lots of male characters. I mean, I Hawkeye Pierce from MASH is who I want to be ultimately. So I've never had a problem. I've never felt conflicted about looking up to and admiring and trying to embody the characteristics of a powerful fictional male character. Likewise, men should not feel, and young boys should not feel, that they cannot look up to a powerful character that inspires them or moves them or they think is cool or funny or whatever, and not feel they can connect to them because that character happens to be a woman. And my hope is that with some of these breaking the mold characters who are complex and have either multifaceted, and there's a lot more that they do and say than just one thing, that you can start to do that. And we can all look up to each other for each other's characteristics, and not just, no more pink movies and blue movies.
Yeah. Right. Sure. Well, I think that, hopefully on down the line, that even has a broader opening of who can be your princesses and who can be your heroes. I think that, the idea that it's always, even with the, gender, with the, with the race, I think that there's so many, it's not just a hero to serve this particular aspect of the population, but that it's just a really well written, really well made hero movie or series, and what they happen to be doesn't matter so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, also Elena of Avalor is the best princess ever.
Oh, okay.
I almost forgot.
Well, thank you.
Sorry, I almost forgot. Disney has all these TV shows now with princesses.
Sophia and Elena are technically princesses.
Yeah, and Elena of Avalor is awesome, and she's the crown princess. She's not ruling the kingdom yet because she's young, but she is ready to rule, as the song from the first episode will tell you. But anyway, she's amazing, and she's tough, and she's strong, and she's also kind of arrogant and hot-headed, and anything that she thinks, she thinks she can do anything. Oh, I'm going to win this fencing competition. And they're like, well, but you're only okay. And she's like, okay, I'm going to win it anyway.
You're only okay.
And I love it. And she does. And I love it because it's this is a character we haven't seen before, a princess who's kind of a little brash, but she's still incredibly smart and clever, and she works well in a team, and she's a leader, and she knows how to delegate authority. You're really good at that. You take over,
he's
buddy.
Getting really excited.
She's diplomatic. She's
so
political.
excited.
She's amazing. She's one of the best. Seriously, if you're not watching Elena of Avalor, which you're probably not,
children's
if you're
TV
not,
show,
watch one episode. Watch the Dia de los Muertos episode, and tell me you don't cry and you're not moved by this amazing character that is Elena of Avalor. That's my last pitch for you.
All right, y'all have homework.
Yeah. Before we go, I want to tell everyone one last time about the Max Fun Drive.
That's right. So again, if you enjoy what we do here at the Maximum Fun Network, and if you enjoy what we do specifically on this podcast, that's still buffering. That's what you're listening to right now. In case you forgot, it's okay. I'm here to remind you. Why don't you consider, if you're in a position to, supporting us? If you're not a donor, we would encourage you to become a monthly donor. We have levels of $5, $10, $20, $35 a month, whatever you can do. We super appreciate it. It helps us make our shows. It helps us make our shows better. If you're already a donor and maybe you're in a position to this year upgrade your membership, this is a wonderful time to do so, because we have all kinds of cool gifts that we've already told you about, all kinds of bonus content from all the shows. Once you donate, you have access to when you become a monthly donor, you have access to all the bonus content from all the shows. There's tons of great stuff back there that we've done through the years. So
our bonus episode this year is particularly one I would recommend listening to.
I think it's very funny.
It is.
I'm very pleased with it. And if you're a fan of our mom, she was on our bonus episode last year, so you'll get that. You'll get access to that episode. And you can also donate $10 a month, and you'll get, again, those cool pins. I cannot emphasize enough. Go check out on the website those pins.
Ours says, let's not talk about butts, obviously.
What else would it say? So consider donating if you can. Again, at the $20 a month, you get the Keep in Touch kit. At $35 a month, you get the beer mugs. So pick the level that's right for you. Upgrade if you can. Help us reach our goal of 10,000 new and upgrading members. Get Taylor and Riley tattooed.
Get to 15,000 and I'll consider.
That's we're almost halfway there, right? We're so close.
Yeah.
Only if our mom says it's okay.
Only if mom says it's okay.
No.
And do it while it's on your mind right now. You're thinking about it. You want it. You're looking at those pins. You know they're cool. Go to MaximumFun.org and click on donate. That's MaximumFun.org. Click on donate and help us out. Help us keep making this thing we love to make for you.
And thank you to the Novellas for our theme song, Baby You Change Your Mind. This has been Still Buffering, a sister's guide to teens through the ages. I am Riley Smurl.
I'm Sydney McElroy.
And I'm Taylor Smurl.
I am a teenager.
And I was two.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture. Artist owned.
Listener supported.